Was meeting order. Roll call.
Dick Poofall,
Here.
Mike Berlin,
Here.
Clarence Campbell,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek.
Here. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Mike Berlin to approve the agenda, seconded by Marty Vitek. All those in favor say aye.
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 Please
Anyone
make sure
opposed?
to use your microphone.
It's on.
No, Marty's was not.
Oh, okay. You're the bad guy. Right. Public comment period. 3 minutes per person, limit 30 minutes for all public comments. Anybody online want to comment?
So, you want to comment?
Anyone online want to comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll go right to approval of executive committee meeting minutes from October 31st. Need a motion.
Marty Vitek, I
Motion
make
by
a
Marty
motion to
Vitek,
approve.
I'll second.
seconded by Clarence Campbell. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We go to number 5, discussion and action item, pay increase for income maintenance lead.
As everyone probably knows, this is a consortium for income maintenance. Our employees in Ashland County are actually paid by the consortium. So it's their policy. They're asking for $1 an hour raise for one of our Ashland County employees. The cost will be borne by the consortium and not by the county. So they requested that we approve this raise.
This is Mike here. So this is in addition to the COLA.
This is in addition to the 2.5%, yes.
Hunter?
As long as it's going to be paid by the consortium, I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Already motion by Clarence Campbell to approve, seconded by Marty Vitek. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion and action on comp time. I'm going to dump that in your lap.
Yeah. So right now the county has a policy on comp time. First of all, it starts off, the employee handbook starts off by saying we abide by the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1933 and Wisconsin statutes regarding overtime. Comp time can only be earned when an employee is eligible for overtime or 40 hours a week plus. So any hour over 40. So if you work 41 hours, you would be eligible for 40 hours of regular pay and then 1 hour of overtime, which is paid at time and a half, or you can opt to take 1.5 hours of comp time. So it's the same time or money, and that's at the employee's discretion. Well, we also have a rule saying that that comp time has to be used within the next pay period. So if you were to work this week, then you would have the following pay period to use that time off. Otherwise, you just get paid out. Over the course of time, we've had people who tend to abuse the system. They take comp time for work that happened months ago outside that perimeter. And since there's no way for the clerk's office to really record this, it ends up being, we never really know if the comp time was appropriate or not, and whether it was timely. So all the records are kept in department's office. So I guess what we're looking at is eliminating comp time altogether and paying those employees who are eligible for overtime pay / comp time to just receive overtime pay. So they would receive the full legal benefits they get, time and a half, but we wouldn't have any of the associated record keeping with comp time. I'd like to point out, highway department does not do that because of the nature of winter plowing. They can't let a guy take off a week or two later when they don't know when it's going to snow. And they may need all hands on deck for that. So because of the inability to keep accurate records, we would prefer to just pay time and a half for any overtime work. It's part of the handbook section.
So this is going to be a change in the policy?
This would be a change in the employee handbook, yeah. And the whole
Question.
handbook, Max is working on the legal aspects, like family medical leave and grievance policy and all that stuff. So when he's done with that, the entire handbook will then go to the county board too, with all the changes. So we're asking you to approve some of this change and then a couple others in the next agenda item that would later go to the county board for full approval.
This is Bill with a question.
Sure.
Who authorizes the comp time?
Well, it's supposed to be the department head. But again, we have no way of keeping accurate records on it on our end. So we don't know if the comp time really exists or not, or whether it was appropriately given. Did somebody only work, 25 hours a week, and then they worked 27, so they're getting 2 hours of comp time, which is contrary to the policy and contrary to state and federal law.
So when a department head approves the overtime, that's it. There's no other approvals required.
Well, yeah, unless we see the clerk's office will see the time card and they can see the overtime, but comp time is not marked on the time cards. And they don't have a record system to keep that information.
But that would be the case for overtime.
Yeah, overtime, yeah. The reality is, let's be honest, everybody wants to get paid for their overtime. So that'll be much easier to keep records for.
Do we have any idea how much the volume or of dollars involved here?
See, Heather, Sue, do you have an idea? It comes up, I guess it's not a great amount of hours, but it does come up every quarter or so.
So this is Mike here again. So the two departments that would be notorious for this would be roads and probably the sheriff's department. But being on the sheriff's department over there, how does that work with the union?
The sheriff's department automatically, whatever the sheriff's department does is covered by the union contract. So generally they get paid overtime. However, there is some comp time, but they keep better records on that at the sheriff's department, and that is part of the union contract. So any change we make here would not affect the union contract. That would stay the same since it's collectively bargained. Now, I will note that their contract is now expired and they want to start negotiating at the end of the month. So this may be an issue at that point too, whether or not they just want to get paid or not.
Did you say, Dan, that this is recommended by the department heads?
This is recommended by myself and the clerk's office. The people who are actually paying the bills and keeping track of payroll.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot cleaner way of doing it is if you just paid the overtime, because like you say, I would think it's almost impossible for the clerk's office to keep records of who's owed comp time and who's not, and
And when does it expire? And when you
yeah.
have to pay that out because it's expired?
Yeah, I
Makes a lot of-
agree that I think we should just change it to, you get paid overtime if you are eligible for it, and you can't take it in comp time.
And I would be happy to grant an exception if the board chair said yes. But other than that, then it's actually notated somewhere with me and with the clerk. But yeah, I would say, I thank you, Mr. Campbell.
So this is Mike again. If I may, let me throw a question over here at our accounting department. Would it be easy for you all just to pay overtime? Just get it done with. Because ultimately, they're the ones in the trench that needs to process,
Right.
accumulate, follow it, track it, and, right, okay, thank you.
And more importantly, be consistent.
Clarence?
Well, and theoretically, if you think about it, let's say that somebody has accumulated 6 hours of comp time. Somebody else may have to work overtime in order for that person to take their comp time.
Mhm.
So then you'd have kind of a snowball effect.
Yeah, you can.
You know, it's just simpler to pay the overtime and be done with it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I think most employees would be happy just getting paid the overtime because, you know, they all, prices go up, they need money.
Marty?
I agree that I think that recording this stuff would be a nightmare to try to keep it, up
Yeah.
to date, yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to that effect?
Okay, this is Bill. I have a question.
Yes.
Bill?
My question is, are we going to put a limit to this?
To overtime?
Yes.
Yeah, overtime should only be used in extreme circumstances.
I know, but are we going to put a limit to the amount of time that we can get overtime? Doesn't somebody have to?
In general, we already have a limit to that. You're not supposed to go over 40 hours in a week. The exceptions being when weather requires it. Like we can't help when it snows and the roads have to be cleared. And in the sheriff's department, because we can't control events that law enforcement were needed. So in those two situations, when there's a legal emergency or, or just even an accident or whatever, the sheriff's department is eligible for overtime, and highway is eligible when weather permitting. Other than that, there should be no more overtime.
Clarence?
I'll make a motion that we approve this change to basically eliminate comp time and pay overtime when somebody's eligible and has worked overtime.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Marty Vitek.
And may I ask a clarifying question? Just so everybody is aware, we're defining overtime as defined by the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is any time worked over 40 hours in a single week.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure that's clear for everybody, so there's no questions down the road.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Clarence Campbell, seconded by Marty Vitek to approve doing away with comp time.
That'll be when
They want to comment on it?
No, Sue was asking effective date.
Next pay period.
Okay.
It's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go to number 7, a discussion action item, approve employee handbook changes. My goodness.
And I'll let First of all, I could ask permission for the clerk's office to help explain this. Okay. Um, so I give them a lot of credit, all three of them here. They went through this handbook line by line by line with a fine tooth comb, trying to update inconsistencies, things that haven't been updated since Act 10 was passed or before. So all their changes are in red. Some of them are simple, you know, like the first one I came up on here, defining a casual employee. So we changed it to such as an on-call position. So some of that would be, a good example of that would be our deputy coroners. They only work when they're needed. Yeah. I'm just gonna. So recruitment and selection, this is just it's clarifying standard process already. How we do open recruitment, we have to post it for a certain period of time.
I have a question, I have a question about that.
Sure.
How do we let the public know that there's a vacancy? I see we've eliminated out the, newspaper.
Right, so departments advertise in local papers. They use Indeed.com. It's on our website. And ones I've been encouraging people to you also use the League of Wisconsin Municipalities website and the Counties Association website to have more avenues of exposure.
Where does it say that in here?
It doesn't say that in here, but those are the methods they use. For the grant writer position that's coming up, we'd also go to governmentjobs.com, which is a national website. So anybody who's looking for work in government, depending no matter where it is in the country, that's where they would go. So we've been doing government jobs for bigger positions. Like Val's, like our head of CCS is retiring. We're going to be using government jobs to try to fill that position too, because we want to try to find the best candidate and have the widest pool possible. With our new joint dispatch director, which is technically a Bayfield County employee, they do the same thing. We use government jobs to find people, and that way we got out-of-state candidates.
I think we should specify a minimum, like a local paper or something, job service somehow.
Yeah.
We should specify so that we know that it's been published.
So we can certainly say local paper and all relevant internet job boards.
This is a working.
This is still a working document, so we don't have to approve. We don't have to approve the whole document today, or you can approve these changes today or some of these changes, whatever you want. The whole thing is going to come back when Max is finished with his portion. So. So would you like us to make that change, Mr. Vitek?
Pardon?
Would you like us to make that change on how we advertise?
Yeah, at minimum, the local paper, yeah.
Okay.
You know, pretty soon we're gonna have a whole new document.
Yeah, we are. I know we're doing it bits and pieces. Part of it because it's easier to make the changes when you can see it in smaller chunks and have time to consider it later again. So some of these issues, like under notification, on page 6, are just literally so payroll new employee can get on payroll and get all the paperwork done in time. We've had too many instances where payroll is not getting the information they needed for a new employee. They're not getting the tax information back, or sometimes we don't even know that they're trying to hire somebody. So Sue has created like a offer of employment letter now that's fill in the blank. So everything is spelled out directly for the new employee. They know their wage, they know their grade and step on the wage scale. They know that future raises are subject to the county board of approval, and so on. So it actually works great, and it stops all the confusion and keeps all new hiring consistent. So everybody is told the exact same information and is treated exactly the same as everybody else. And Sue, if you'd like to comment on your form, just so they have a better idea.
Actually, we all worked on it together, the three of us, but it has worked extremely well. It can be edited by the department head and fine-tuned for the new employees that they're hiring. And then once they've put their information into it, then Dan and I review it and make sure that they're quoting the wage study rates correctly, and what the hours and different things like that are on it. So we're extremely pleased with how it's been working out.
Well, this is Mike here. The question I have is this a part of the orientation package the new employee is given upon being hired, whether it be through the department head, supervisor, or accounting? So we have a sequence of events so that our accounting people have the necessary paperwork to process payroll.
Yep. And that's what's happening. That's what we've started instituting. Is this letter is the first, it's the offer of employment, and it instructs the new employee to come to the clerk's office, or we mail it to them, whichever they prefer, depending on how much time there is between start date. If somebody's starting in 2 days, they have to come into the clerk's office. If it's going to be 2 weeks, we mail it to them. And so they get all the information beforehand, and they have to fill out all the tax forms and everything prior to joining the workforce, joining the county.
Another part of that we implemented into the template is a signature line for the new employee, which is really great because we've had some discussion about new hire letters and things that have come up. And by having the employee sign that, we at least have proof that they should be well aware of what's been offered to them up front before they've taken the employment. So.
Mike again, not only that, they need to process the necessary paperwork to do electronic payroll, because we are not electronic payroll. So that's ACH payment to the bank or their account and all that kind of stuff. So they need to be in sync, so to speak.
Yeah, so so this is just really changing, making sure everything gets more streamlined and there's no confusion down the road on both the new employee side and the department head side. It's all written there in black and white for everybody to see in unambiguous terms. So that's what we're doing with the notification and employee orientation portion here.
So Dan, do you want to use this strictly as an informational tool then, or what?
Well, this is letting you guys know the changes that we want to make. Like I said, you don't have to approve this today. You can wait till Max is finished with his portion. But, we're going over this now, so you have the choice to do what you want to do today or later. Yeah. Yeah, it's a living, breathing document. I can guarantee you next year we'll be coming back with other changes. But our goal is to make it as clean as possible so there is no questions about things. Like I said, a lot of this language predates Act 10. So
Well, there's things in here that I can't imagine in my wildest imagination how they ever got in there. on page 11, employee using sick time must use a minimum of 2 hours. I don't ever remember being sick for only 2 hours.
Okay, well, that's referring to somebody who is, say, has a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock. So they leave at 2 o'clock for the doctor's appointment, they use sick time to cover.
Yeah.
That's what that means. So I can go down the page, or we could go to pages where supervisors have questions. That might be quicker.
Well, what's your choice? You want to wait until we get all the information from Max on the changes, or do you want to vote on it now?
Yeah. Do you have any questions in the meantime as you've been looking this? So those questions are fresh in your mind. Yeah.
So then this just becomes a discussion item. Any more discussion?
Hold on a second, please. Go ahead.
I'm just questioning, when do you anticipate Max will complete his portion?
Last time I talked to him, he was almost done. So I will contact him again and find out exactly where he is and let him know that we want to get this done before the next county board sits. Otherwise, you may have all new members of the executive committee who don't have any history.
Okay, ready to move along? We'll go to item 8, discussion action on job description wage range for a grant writer.
All right, so what I did here is I went online to governmentjobs.com, one of the websites we spoke about earlier, and printed off a whole bunch of job descriptions for grant writers from different places. The idea was for the committee to see if there are any specific parts they would like to see in Ashland County before we put the actual whole thing together. I would say you have to ignore wages on these because different parts of the countries have different labor markets. So, just because the city in Iowa is paying that the $29 an hour doesn't mean that would be the rate here. We'd have to set our own rate that we view as reasonable. And so that's actually one of the main questions is what rate do we want to set the wages at? So,
well, I looked over your job descriptions and some of them are from really long ways away and some are for big cities.
Yeah.
I didn't get into the qualifications thing yet. I mean, we have to know what we're asking for to begin with.
Right.
As far as the wages go, it looks to me like the starting wage is averages between 50 and 71,000.
It's about right.
For all of these.
It's about right. Yeah, and the more responsibility, the closer it is to 70. So the actual grant administrator, or what do they call it? The main person in the department would be closer to 70. And that person, and I don't want to speak for Supervisor Berlin, we envision it as getting one person up and running, getting those grants, getting that person funded, him or herself, and then adding to the department as the workload increases and having it all grant funded. Mr. Berlin, is that about right?
Yes, this is Mike again. I'll just throw this out there. I was probably, after hearing what Dan had shared with us in the past here, I would probably be willing to go low end 65 to maybe a high end of 85, 60 to $80,000. The person that we're looking for, obviously, I would be looking for a retired grant writer. Because when you hire a retired person, that guy knows what he's doing, or that person knows what they're doing. I had some experience out here with the Bedouin tribe sitting on the council out there. We had an issue with our HR department, and it wasn't until we found a guy out of Chicago that retired, and he's up here in Manitowish, and he applied for the position, and we hired him. And that person, as soon as he walked in the door, all the issues that we had disappeared. He knew what the job was. He knew what his job was as HR director or manager. And when he came to the council, everything was bang, bang, bang. He knew what was required of him. He knew the law, bam. And I just can't say enough about hiring a retired person. Although when you hire a retired person, you know it's a limited term. That person's not going to be there forever. But at least right now, we need somebody to, step in the door, get us going, get us started. And then at that point in time, we're going to want to take and hire an assistant. He can mentor that assistant to his, experience. And then of course, that would be a good time when he moves on, or our assistant, our assistant grant writer to move up, because he's already in the trenches. He knows where we're at, what we're doing, and where we want to go. Does that make any sense? At any rate, I did go through this. There's some of these that I was particularly interested in, and one of the things I liked is on the back end of the application here, where we have these supplemental questions. I would certainly like to request that question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, whether they be the same as these or similar to it. And of course, we need to know that information. Do you have a valid driver's license? And so some of those basic questions, boom, boom, boom. Are you free to work in the United States? One of the questions, wow. And of course, do they have a degree in business management or marketing? And, obviously, in the resume, that should be a given, but not all the time. The format when individuals put in a resume, they use their own format, or they a basic online format, like they have someone do it for them, or whatever the case may be. Physical demands, obviously we're looking for some special requirements. We would want to identify that in the job application itself, what we're looking for them to accomplish. Or I have a thing here folded over. Well, that's what that is. So supplement questionnaires. So that can get, this is, 10 questions. Well, that's quite a lot, but it covers a multitude of things. But at any rate, I guess this is kind of, but there's a lot of information here. Like Dick had indicated, some of these are from all over the country, down in California, down in New Mexico, and, Georgia. And I would like to see more here in our, state. But the thing is,
there's not many openings in this state to find applications.
As we planned and as I sold this, we take a look at the more progressive counties in the state of Wisconsin. Obviously, we know there's 72 counties. And the more progressive counties in the state of Wisconsin has grant writers, one or more. And of course, we be on the bottom end of the the rating pool, so to speak. We would like to upgrade Ashland County to get more into the middle of the rating in the state of Wisconsin. And if it takes getting us a grant writer here in Ashland County to assist our administration, our wards and districts, townships out there, this is what we need to do. It's coming to light more and more that we have more things here in Ashland County to put out there. I'm watching this, as a matter of fact, just this weekend, I watch Unique Wisconsin. Usually it's just the Wisconsin. And just this weekend, I seen Unique Wisconsin on, because it's Saturday morning it was. And I says, wow, that's where we're gonna be. Because we adopted, we're gonna pay those guys $60,000 to come in here and review, and we're gonna share with them a lot of the things, or most of the things that's not being covered with our, what do you call it, Mary over there at the chamber. So, there's some holes there, and there's a lot of things that we're doing here in Wisconsin right now that's not being identified to bring in tourists. And of course, this is what we're looking for, bring people here to Ashland County and the things that we have to do here at Ashland County. And I've discussed this a few items, and I said, gee, why can't we do this in Ashland County? Well, until it's brought up and until it's shared, maybe it's an oversight. I don't know. At any rate.
This is Bill. Can I interrupt?
Go ahead, Bill.
Does City of Ashland have a grant writer?
No, they don't.
I got another question. Who's gonna hire the grant writer?
Well, that's gonna be me and the chairman and probably one other person.
Okay. Has it been advertised yet?
No, we're looking at what kind of qualities you want to see in that person. What kind of job responsibilities? So the goal is to go to advertising quickly here. Yeah. I'm sorry, Bill, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. That answered my question.
Did you go through these and summarize what you're looking for?
A lot of these under the main qualifications, if you notice, they're all pretty much the same. I think I think we need to take the most common elements from each one of them and make that as part of the job description. A lot of these questions we can add to it too. Like the one from Cobb County has 10 questions. We can add that. But if you look, they all have basically the same essential functions. And I think we just pretty much lift those from other counties and cities. I think the education and training, I think the person needs a bachelor's degree, but I'm not sold on like this one having 5 years of experience. I mean, I'm not sure we're going to find somebody with that much experience. So I would say 3 years in grant work, or 3 years in accounting and 1 or 2 years in grant work.
I think this whole thing could be pared down quite a bit. There's a lot of information there, but as far as the training goes, I think that's right, because a person needs to have some idea of how, like a bachelor's degree in business administration or accounting, something like that, has to have a basic understanding of how this stuff works.
Right.
No, I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but it needs to be pared down. All those items we can take into account during the interview process too, as well as the experience. Mike's idea of having a retired person who's competent to do this stuff is a great idea, but I think he's got kind of a rare fish he's looking for.
I think that's a unicorn, to be honest. So, well, I will get you down to one single job description, but is there any, if you think of any of these specific items that you like, please let me know, because we want to make this as thorough as possible, but what the county board thinks they need. But,
this is Mike here again. Just for the sake of discussion, as you go through this on some of these items of exercise or duties and There's, you got 40% of your time for this, 30% of your time, 10% of your time. I don't know if that's, we wanted to throw that in there at this point in time for the applicant, or?
I don't know if we need to spell out, you're gonna spend half your week doing this one thing. I mean, that doesn't, the real life doesn't work that way. So I would say like you just use the paragraphs in here as job duties. Because some days, I mean, there are gonna be some weeks and months where you're actively just writing that grant and researching that grant and not doing anything else. And when that's submitted, then you're going to be spending the next week or two doing nothing but the accounting, and, I think we need the person or persons, how hopefully that's how it ends up, persons, plural, needs to be able to do the job as it needs to be done. And not micromanage my percentages.
What are your expectations if we hire somebody as to when actually they're going to write a grant, promote a grant, investigate a grant or whatever? The turnover time is what I'm saying. If you hire them, say in January, February, whatever, how many months are we going to have to wait for activity?
I think there are some quick ones, very small ones that, we like state grants that we can turn over real quick. Big ones, the $1 million plus ones, those usually have a few month application period. And then they get the applications and you don't hear for 6 months. So we would let, we obviously like the person to start concentrating on bringing some revenue in, but still working on these bigger ones that take a longer time to get approval for. And hopefully, which I'll talk about in my update, we're applying for a grant that would actually already pay for this person.
So we could conceivably have somebody on board for 6 months and not have a grant in place yet.
It does take a while to research, write, and get approved.
Then we should have hired them 6 months ago.
Yeah, we had to put it in the budget first.
Yeah.
But here's something I want to throw out there that has nothing to do with, it's kind of parallel with this. A week ago, we got the county handbook, the little newsletter handbook. And you take a look at page 36. They're encouraging the counties to do grant applications to the federal government. Federal government is providing money to the counties now. So by us having a grant writer on board, there's resources that's coming out, I would probably say within the next quarter, which would mean the second quarter of the fiscal year. No, in the second quarter. That would be the third quarter of the fiscal year, because the government goes from October to September, or calendar year. But the federal government is making monies available to the counties now. And that particular excerpt, page 36 of that county handbook that we get every month, is encouraging us to look at that.
Just a little bit.
And that's not been there before. So, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, the amount of grants that have been the federal government's giving out since the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law is just monstrous. And the feds are just starting to get these programs rolling. It takes them a long time to get, what is grant eligible and get all the rules together. So now everything is just really starting to come out now, and will be for the next several years as these programs live.
This is kind of what I had indicated when I tried to make the sell to the county board, needing a grant writer between now and 2030. Money's going to be out there. We have time to do this. And like I indicated, I'm not just looking for a grant writer. We need a grant writer department, but it's gonna take time to get there.
So Dan, what are you looking for from this panel today?
Well, I'm just looking for ideas of what you think essential job functions are. Is there anything that pops out at you? I'll come back to you with just a single job description, but I want you to see what's out there and to see if there are things that you think are specific to Ashland County instead of just generalized.
Grant writing is necessarily a reaction, because the feds or whoever puts out the money and we react to it. So we, rather than trying to plan to build a new monument someplace in the county that will never be funded, we should probably just have a database where we can apply for whatever comes on the line. Am I making sense here? Because the important thing to me is to have a database where you can draw on for basically any type of proposal that you want to make.
Well, there is that database, grants.gov. The problem is, again, sifting through it, then applying for the appropriate ones, and then even more important, the administration of it after you receive the grant. That's where the real work happens, and that's where the county doesn't have the manpower to do it. So the primary function of this grant writer, when it's as a single person, is going to be applying and then making sure all the paperwork is accounted for and done. That's how I see as the primary function, until there's enough money coming in that we can add another person to do some of the more paperwork portion.
So you're not looking for us to come up with a wage?
Well, a wage would be nice, because that way we can actually put it in the job description.
5585.
Okay.
That's the parameters that Dan had shared.
And I'm thinking is, remember,
Dan, we can't hear anything.
my mic is on.
That is too.
Okay, we're good to go now. I don't know what Mike proposed for a wage.
Oh, so they're saying about $100,000 total compensation.
Thank you.
So total compensation equals salary, health benefits, retirement.
Well, according to the wages in this paperwork that we got from Dan, 71,000 is on the high end. I don't know if you want to start out with 71,000 or.
Well, it's also attracting talent is another issue. I could tell you with our joint dispatch department, when this is a high paying job, we attracted two qualified candidates.
You could use something like the range Mike recommended, and depending on qualifications, kind of thing. Yeah.
So I'll use, so if it's okay with everyone, I'll use Mr. Berlin's wage range, convert that to the wage study. So we're, it may be slightly different by pennies because how we have the salary matrix done. But
Mike here again. On a wage study that was been done, if you could refresh or share with me where I think that's where we were, $60,000 to $80,000 on a.
right, but so the wage study number might be 60,236 as opposed to 60,000. That's all I'm saying. Because the starting wage might be 27.69 instead of 27.65. So I would just convert to the closest number.
Okay.
That way that way when the new person's hired, they added a wage scale number. And then if step increases are granted by the county board, they move up the same as everybody else. We're trying to just be fair to everybody and keep it consistent.
Well, the figures that we have here, seven counties pay more than 71,000. That's out of 13.
Well, and some of those are bigger counties in more expensive districts. The reality is, if you're in Miami, you're going to get paid more simply because the cost of living there is so much higher.
Well, wouldn't it make a difference if you're in the high rent district, how much you're going to pay for that particular position? Like if you're in a city of 500,000 people.
Yeah. Or if you're in a county that has millions of people, yeah, yes, it's going to be the wage rate is going to be different.
I think it also would depend on how that wage blends in with the other county pay rates in Ashland County.
Yeah. So I do like the idea of a wider range because it's possible we get somebody who's super duper qualified and should get a higher wage as a result. If they have a track record of proving they get these grants and administrate them, that's what you want.
So this is Mike again. Let me ask a question. You may have the answer. Iron County has no. Bayfield County has no. Grant writer. Douglas County has no. Price County has no. So the surrounding counties around Ashland County do not have a grant writer.
No.
And when Ashland County brings on a grant writer and these surrounding counties see, the product that our grant writer is putting out, this is probably going to be something that they're going to be looking into if they're not already looking into it.
Yep.
Because as I indicated before, this is essential. This is essential to our operation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a long time coming. And it's not that we've not discussed it in the past, as Spencer indicated. We have. It's just that, we're now making some funds available for this, and we're going to put our right foot forward, and we're going to be more positive about this, and we're going to go with it.
Okay.
And I think it's going to produce for us. I'm almost positive.
I agree with that. I think we've been leaving money on the table here.
Yeah. And I agree with you too that the other counties will get in the game too, but I'd also argue any improvements in northern Wisconsin is an improvement for Ashland County. It doesn't matter where it is, we still benefit.
But the thing is too, once again, this is Mike, that when Wisconsin Towns Association of Wisconsin Counties, they put it in their handbook that they're encouraging us to look at this money that's coming down the pike by the federal government.
Yep.
They're writing a book. They're telling us it's coming. It's going to be there.
Yep.
Be ready, people. And it's going to be in how many different, you don't know in what shape, form, or it's coming down. We need to be ready for it.
Yep. Yeah, and some of the grant periods are very, very short. So one of my update I'll tell you about.
Oh, the timelines. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you about it now since we're talking about grants and the grant writer. So we are, and the county board will make the official approval on the 23rd. We're applying for a $20 million grant from the EPA. The sole goal of that grant is to reduce pollution. So we are going to be applying to put solar panels and a microgrid at the sheriff's department, the highway department, Health and Human Services Department. Um, we're also looking at getting electric trucks and charging stations for the sheriff's department and emergency management. You know, in the case of an emergency management could bring that electric vehicle there, and it's essentially a portable battery. Everybody, all the residents in the area and emergency workers can charge off of it. We're also looking at putting level 3 charging stations, 4 of them at Bad River, at the casino, and then up and down Highway 13 and across US 2. We'd be partnering with local businesses there for that portion. We'd have to competitively bid that, who wants the station, and the federal money would then pay for it. We've also asked all of our municipalities if there's anything we can do that they need. So a couple of our municipalities are on board. So like the town of Sanborn we're putting in for solar panels and a microgrid for the town so that they always have power in case of an emergency. And we're doing that with several other municipalities, the ones that we're interested in doing something. So we are literally already up to the $20 million in our proposal. But the great thing about this grant opportunity came out in the end of October, or end of November, around Thanksgiving time. And it has to be turned in next month. Now, there's not many people or communities that can actually get the grant, read the grant, write the grant, and insert the grant, send it in. It's also based on an income of the community. And because Ashland County is the second lowest income community in the state, that helps us too. So being able to send it in, and we're working with Czech Renewables to write the grant. But to be able to actually send it in and meet the income qualifications, I think we have a good shot at this one. And plus we're working with all the local communities, you know, and Bad River. And that I think is a draw for the EPA too. We're trying to make it so the whole county benefits. So, but this grant writer would then be able to come in and administer that whole program and make sure every little piece of it is getting done. And we'd be paying for them right away.
I was just going to say that would go a long ways toward paying for that position right off the bat, you know.
It would pay for a department right off the bat.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are doing that. And like I said, Finance Committee will be looking at the grant application this week, and then County Board next week will approve it.
So if we're discussing wage here, there's only 2 out of all of these counties that you mentioned that were below 50,000. And there were only 6 that were above. What about if we had a recommendation of a range between 60 and 75,000?
I believe that's what Supervisor Berlin actually.
What?
Supervisor Berlin already recommended 60 to 80.
Or don't you need that now?
Well, I think it would be good to have it in there. Also, the fact that we're talking about that range lets people know. Bill Metzner.
So should we put this in a motion?
Well, I'm going to bring back I'm going to bring back the single job description to you guys, and it'll be in there.
Bill, do you want to talk?
Yes, I would like to see that we make it from 60 to 80, like Mike said, and I would be willing to make that motion, depending on experience and qualifications. I would make that a motion.
I don't think we really need a motion at this time. I think we just need to give Dan some direction to put together the job description and we could just tell him that he should include that in his job description, a wage range. And then come back to us with a job description with the wage range and qualifications and all that.
That would be great with me, but to give Dan some guidance.
Yeah, but I don't think we need it in a form of a motion right now. We just need to give him some direction as to how to put this together. So I think that's already been done, that we've told him to, you know, look at a wage range of 60 to 80,000.
That's great.
And we also agreed basically on all the similar core functions in these jobs.
As far as the job description goes, when I read through these, I noticed they're really detailed, and I don't think we really need anything quite that detailed. I need to have some flexibility in there.
Yeah, I think just a general job description, kind of what is similar in all of these job descriptions and all these, you know, and not get into any real minute details.
Yeah, we need to keep enough to keep us legal as far as, you know, the job advertisement goes, but not a heck of a lot beyond that, I don't think. Because whoever's doing it is going to have to be a flexible person, you know, so.
Yeah, I agree. We want to keep the responsibilities somewhat flexible too, to adapt to whatever comes out down the pike.
Yeah, yeah.
So do we have to formally then provide an agreement between the panel here of the wage thing, or if we're not going to do an actual vote on it, just a verbal thing?
Well, I don't think we need to vote on anything right now. I think we just need to tell Dan to come back to us with a job description for our position, which includes wage range, duties, qualifications, and that sort of thing. And that's when we will vote, is when he brings that job description for our specific grant writer.
That's going to decide on a wage?
Yeah, I mean, he should come back to us with the complete job description that we're going to put out there to attract applicants.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole point of this exercise was to get feedback from the committee on what they would like to see in that job description. And again, what the pay range would be. That's why I included all those different examples, so you can see what everybody else is doing. And I wanted to see what this committee thought it should be.
Well, the reason I'm going to, oh, excuse me, this is Mike again. The reason I'm going so high at 80,000 as a ceiling is that the more you put out there is the better qualified candidate we may be looking at. If a person is looking at, say, $50,000 to $60,000 range, or a $50,000 to $70,000 range, I'm worth more than that, or, you know, and of course, up until the time we interview these individuals, we can make it $60,000 to $100,000 range. It's whatever we offer them when we interview them. It's not that we're not going to pay them on a high end. We're going to start them someplace in the middle, obviously. We're not going to start, but the thing is, we're looking for a good, qualified, experienced candidate is what we're looking for. And this is my purpose in trying to get it up into the 80,000. It may be kind of high, but the thing is, once we interview these individuals, we're going to rank them, and we're going to make them an offer someplace in the middle.
And yeah, what Mike is saying, in case Superman comes along and we need to bump that top end up a little bit, we need to have that flexibility, yes.
Yeah, we would be paying for proven experience. So somebody who has a very good track record gaining and writing grants and administering grants might be worth that 80 grand because they brought in millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, they are. But, you know, a lot of this is a committee, you get what you pay for.
Well, then, as usual, Dan, we're going to dump this in your lap.
That's fine. At least I did get some guidance from you guys, so thank you very much.
Okay, any more discussion? We'll go on to number 9, administrator updates.
Okay, so I did tell you about the grant we're going to be applying for. And we are super excited about that. It's a huge opportunity. And that's an example of, that's from the Inflation Reduction Act, I think. And EPA is spending all of their money because they are afraid that Congress might try to yank it back. So that's another reason why I feel good about having a chance at it. Although I do feel better about the Packers winning next week. So another thing, that this just came out on Friday. I gave you copies of it. So the Joint Finance Committee finally released our money from the whole Sanborn tax issue. I'll make the long and I'll make the short story. So Ashland County was out roughly $2.5 million in taxes. That's what the governor requested we get paid back. Joint Finance Committee decided to pay Ashland County back 1.873 million. So we're down 664,000. And they gave that money to the school district and the tech school to pay their chargebacks to the town of Sanborn. So the school district is not paying a chargeback. The money from the state appropriated will be paying for that. And as a reminder, this county board did support that idea late last year. They're also withholding another 400 grand to pay back next year's chargebacks. If the whole 400 grand is not used, Ashland County will get the balance. I should point out, of the 1.873 million, we still do have to pay our $150,000 in chargeback. So they did not pay for ours specifically, but they appropriated money to us, and the county board did approve using this money as the vehicle to pay that. Going forward, I will be talking to the legislature for the next biennium about getting the rest of our balance. Well, we understand that they had many competing needs and time was short, and at least our county taxpayers are not going to cover the bill for this year and next year. So I think that was the board's primary goal. So that was met. So again, we will next biennium try to get the balance back. And if we don't, well, at least nobody's paying extra taxes. So, so we had an issue last week with a check was stolen. We sent a check to one of our vendors, Maximus. And check was sent to a major processing facility. I believe they probably use an accounts receivable company in Baltimore. The check was then taken, we believe it was taken from either at the post office or at that facility itself, at Maximus's facility. They scanned the check in, the computer, changed the pay to address, printed off a blank check, and then made a mobile deposit into their account for almost $5,000. This happened back in October, and we didn't find out about it until, excuse me, Maximus said, well, where's our money? So that's when the clerk's office went and looked in the accounting software, said, well, no, we paid that bill. It cleared the bank. So then they went to the bank and got a picture of the check, and you could see it was completely different vendor. So we did contact the bank. It looks like we are going to get refunded our money, but it is going to take 60 days. If anybody on this committee wants to see a copy of the check, I have it right here. For security reasons, I'm not putting it in the packet because that would give away all of our account number for the public and anybody could steal. But I do have a copy for board members to look at if they want to see it. You'll see the check is completely different. I did tell Dave Martinson about it too, in case the bank does not get us our money. We can file an insurance claim then if we have to. But obviously we'd rather get our money through the bank and not make a claim. So, but I have that right here and I'll show that to anybody who wants to look at it. Sorry, Chairman Poofall is looking at this now, and it's the top one, and you'll notice there's major differences on the check itself. Watermark there. So, at some point, I think Finance Committee is going to have to look at doing something different on how we pay for things. You know, the problem with accounting software is when you reconcile your bank account, you just see the numbers. You see the check number and the dollar amount. So if it reconciles on the bank statement, check number blah 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 is $2,000, you assume that it went to the right person because that's how the software works. In this case, it was stolen and we didn't find out till later. So we are going to have to look at doing something different down the road. One thing they are with the finance is going to take up is authorizing the use of a purchasing card instead of writing all these checks. So there is a Health and Human Services has volunteered to be the first department to go ahead and do this. So give it a trial run and see how it works. The problem with these purchasing cards and credit cards in general are we don't always get the receipts from employees, and we have to have the receipts. We have to. I mean, our auditor is going to want them. So that'll be Finance Committee will be hopefully approving that. I know that's something that several of the members have strongly approved of. Purchasing cards do give us a rebate. So it's like your rewards credit card. If you have one, you charge $100 at Quick Trip and you get a 2% cash back. These purchasing cards work the same way. So hopefully we can get a little bit of revenue that way and protect our bank account.
Unauthorized trip, you did. That's not an answer.
So I'll leave this up here for you guys.
Just so I understand, somewhere in the process, somebody actually took the check to our vendor and the vendor never got it. They took the check and doctored it up so that it went into their account.
Yeah. So it was either intercepted in the post office system or at the vendor. So when I looked at the invoice from the vendor, it looks like one of these giant accounts receivable companies. So like a company will sell their accounts receivable to another company at 90% of face value. Or they'll pay another company to deal with it so they don't have to have the staff. So this seemed like one of those gigantic lock boxes where millions of letters go into every week. And it could have been stolen by an employee there or a temporary worker there or something. So they took the check, they scanned it, and scanners these days are pretty high quality. Made a PDF out of it, and then went into the PDF and edited it and changed the pay to address. That way, the check number and the dollar amount stayed the same. They had all the signatures on it because they scanned it, and they just printed that onto a new check. Then they took a picture of the check that's now brand new, essentially, and for all intents and purposes valid, took a picture of it and made a mobile deposit into their banking account. So no bank actually got a copy of the physical check. They only got the image. And that's kind of how it gets through. The bank doesn't have any way of knowing it's not real. Although we're going to work with them on positive pay, and I believe Tracy has a meeting with the bank next month. Or Tracy and the clerk's office have a meeting with them next month about other ways we can secure our account. So we're actively going to be trying to find more ways to help keep everything secure. And a purchasing card is one of those ways where we can do that. I can tell you from my own personal experience, the only things that come out of my bank account, my personal bank account, are credit card payments, my cell phone bill, and my electric bill. I pay everything else on credit cards. So there's only a very few limited things that can come out of my bank account. So it's really easy to trace where the problem was. And that way I don't have a debit card sitting out there that could have huge, I could lose everything. I have a credit card where my liability is $50. So, and that's sort of what the purchasing card would do. It would limit our liability, and you would have a way to go back and get your money if you need to. And then there's only one check to write, which could be an electronic check. So you're not even sending a check through the mail. So that's one of the ways we're going to go get around this. But hopefully it works well at HHS and we can move it forward to the entire county. But we did want to try it in one department where the accounting people were willing to do it. So, and Amber raised her hand enthusiastically. So she gets to be it.
Anything else? Any questions?
No, I'd just like to make one comment. I was in Milwaukee over the weekend and driving. Yeah, blizzard to get downtown. But I just want to say how good our highway department did with the snow. I drove through a lot of counties this weekend. And when we got to Ashland County, it was one of the best in the state. So kudos to the highway guys who do the plowing at the highway department. They did a great job. And we should be proud of the work they did.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Schedule the next meeting date.
So, here's my glasses. Actually, I'll pull the calendar up on the screen here. That way everybody can see. Okay. So, well, we got WCA in February 5th, 6th, 7th. So that's out. February 13th, work for everyone? I'll check my other calendar to make sure. And then we'll have the job description ready for you on the 13th. And then once you approve that, we can post it right away.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
I was looking at Tuesday, the 13th, but if this committee would prefer to do Wednesday, we can certainly do that.
Dan, there's that thing scheduled in there at 11 to 2 that Julie Gleason talked to you about.
Okay, is that Tuesday or Wednesday?
That is on Tuesday, the 13th.
Okay, so how about the 14th, Valentine's Day? Thursday, the 15th?
What's the date?
Any of those days is all right with me.
Bill, does Thursday the 15th work for you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to be in Arizona until around the middle of March. So, do we have a county board meeting on Tuesday?
The 23rd.
23rd.
Yep, we'll have
9
the
o'clock.
agenda out soon.
Okay.
Okay, so Thursday, February 15th. All right, and if something comes up, let me know and if we need to reschedule. And we will be having a March County Board meeting. If anything, to pass resolutions honoring the people who are retiring.
Motion to adjourn.
One more
Oh.
second. What date finally did you set on?
Thursday, February 15th.
Thursday.
February 15th. So that would make Finance Committee Thursday, the 23rd. For anybody else keeping track.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adjourn. By Clarence Campbell, seconded by Marty Vitek. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
We're
thank you.
adjourned.